So we talked about the most important thing during a renovation, but what's the most important thing before you buy the house? It's getting the house at the right price. You make your money when you buy the house, right? So that's extremely important to run your comps right. When I say that, I mean run them in the neighborhood that you're buying the house in. That I always try to stay in the neighborhood because once you start going outside of the neighborhood, you kind of risk those comps not being apples to apples, right? That neighborhood a block over could be kind of completely different, right? So I always try to stay within the neighborhood. Usually you can do that unless you're in a rural area where there's not as many houses to comp out. So first thing is stay in the neighborhood. Second thing is make sure your numbers are right? As best as you can, because there's always going to be something that comes up. I usually like to add a 10% contingency for that. But make sure your numbers are pretty dang accurate, right? You don't want to go in and think, all right, this kitchen's gonna be, 7,000 and you go and spend 20 grand on the kitchen. It's not hard to do, right? It's not hard, especially when you get into a renovation, and especially if you're new, you may want to make it very, very pretty, right, for the buyer, and kind of make it what you would want. But you can't you can't go down that road, right? You got to stick with your numbers. So number one, find the right comps. Number two, make sure you get your numbers right? Make sure you get your renovation numbers really accurate. And then number three, I would just say, just make sure you have a good contract, right? If you need to put an inspection contingency in there, make sure it's beneficial to both sides, right? That's kind of another topic, but number one thing is make sure you buy the house at the right price where you can make the most money. Don't let emotions get into it. That can happen during bidding wars. Don't let that happen to you. If you like this content, follow X Builds.